What are Asta's swords? How did he get them, and why was he chosen to get them? Keep on watching to find out. Yo, what's good with you? Today I got a Black Clover video for you guys. This is the first video of a two-part series where I'll explain all three of Asta's swords. The Demon Slayer, Demon Dweller, and Demon Destroyer swords, and how he got them, their abilities, where they came from, everything. I'm just covering everything there is to know about his swords. And I'm not just covering this with Asta, but with the previous user of the swords as well. I decided to make a video on this because I looked this up myself, and there's not really anybody else explaining his swords and their history in full detail. So I decided, why not make a video on this for you? I know, no need to thank me.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
In today's video, I'll be covering the history behind the swords, the previous user's abilities, and why Asta has them. In the second part, I'll cover Asta's abilities with each sword, how he got them, and some theories about Asta's future with the swords. There will be spoilers in this video, so if you haven't caught up to the anime, don't watch this video. Unless obviously you don't care about being spoiled, then please keep watching. I need the views. Okay, let's go. I'm going to talk about where the swords come from and their history first, so we're going to have to go way back before Asta was born, about 500 years before Asta's birth to be specific. The previous owner of Asta's swords was actually Licht, the leader of the elves. Licht uses Tsurugi Maho, or sword magic, which is his magic attribute, and he has a 4-leaf grimoire, which is important to note for later on in the video. So Licht and his swords possess no anti-magic abilities. Because of this and the fact that he has mana unlike Asta, he uses his swords in a completely different way to Asta. We see this when the reincarnated Licht fights Asta and Yuno. We learn a lot about Licht and how he uses his swords during this fight. Licht's swords magic allows him to generate swords, and he can use these swords to fire slashes at his opponents. This is actually a spell called Kai Byaku no Isen, or Origin Flash. Licht can do some pretty insane stuff with the Demon Dweller sword specifically. With the Demon Dweller sword, Licht can absorb mana from an opponent's attack and then release it back at them. He even absorbed the mana from Yuno's Spirit Swarm twice, which just shows how OP this ability is. He can also use the Demon Dweller sword to absorb the magic of his allies and then release all that mana in a single attack. This is called Shikuma no Tsurugi, or Conquering Aeon. Licht is also able to connect his allies using the Demon Dweller sword. He can use this to give them mana or information, which is really useful in battle. In chapter 210, the manga states that the Demon Dweller sword is connected to those that it is bonded to. That's pretty vague, and we'll probably get a better explanation in the future. Besides that, we didn't see Licht use any other abilities with the three swords. However, we did learn more interesting things about the swords during this fight. The first thing we learned was that when Licht uses the swords, they almost purify. What I mean by this is when Licht uses the swords, they are a nice polished silver color, but when Asta uses the swords, they're a dark black color. During this fight, when Licht steals the Demon Dweller sword from Asta, it instantly changes from the black color to the clean silver color. We see this again when Asta gets the Demon Destroyer sword after Licht lost it, blocking an attack. The color instantly goes from silver to black this time. Nobody else has ever affected the color of the swords, and powerful mages like the first Wizard King and the current Wizard King have both wielded swords for a brief amount of time. In Lumière's case, he used the Demon Dweller sword with Licht to transfer mana to the other mages in the Shadow Palace so that they could escape. In Julius's case, he wielded the Demon Dweller sword by himself, and he could feel his mana being drained. He said that Asta was able to wield the sword because he didn't have any mana in the first place. This is very interesting. We don't know if the swords drain Licht's mana when he uses them, but when others do, it drains their mana. To add to this, in chapter 97, the Witch Queen says that she thought Asta was able to wield the swords because he was related to a specific person, probably implying Licht. But she was wrong, and it was actually because Asta has no mana that he's able to wield the swords. Another interesting thing we learnt from the fight was that the three swords aren't actually created by mana. This wasn't stated, but we can prove this because during the fight, Asta strikes Licht's swords multiple times using the Demon Slayer sword. If the swords were made from mana, Asta would have cut right through them with his anti-magic from the Demon Slayer sword. So if these swords aren't made from mana, then what are they? Who made them? And how were they made? They can literally absorb mana. Well, to be honest, we don't know the answer to these questions yet. But this is the anime community we're talking about here. We always have our theories. On the topic of who made the swords, the most likely answer are the dwarves. We don't know much about the dwarves in the Black Clover world, but we know they lived at the same time as the elves, so this works. If we look at the media and mythology, dwarves are stereotyped as being blacksmiths and crafters. This, and the fact that Yuki Tabata has used mythology in Black Clover before, suggests that these swords were made by the dwarves. But for the other questions, we have no probable answers, and any theory is just a guess. We don't have enough information at this point. Okay, now that we've covered all there is to the history of the swords, let's talk about how and why Asta possessed them. Okay, there's going to be a lot of information here, so just bear with me, guys. Zagrid, the demon who conducted the elf massacre behind the shadows, did so to manipulate Licht's emotions so he could possess his body and grimoire to manifest into the realm where humans and elves live. A demon can only possess a grimoire if it is a 5-leaf clover grimoire. To create a 5-leafed grimoire, a 4-leaf grimoire owner must fall into absolute despair. This despair and hatred corrupts the grimoire and turns it into a 5-leaf grimoire. This process happened to Licht when he witnessed the massacre of the elves during his wedding. We know that this was set up by the demon Zagrid so that he could possess the grimoire in Licht's body, enabling Zagrid to manifest his true form. Now, here's where it can get confusing. So to sum it up very basically, Zagrid fails to possess Licht's body or his grimoire and gets sealed by Sekre, who uses forbidden magic to do so. Licht uses the magic stones and turns into a gigantic demon so that Zagrid can't possess his body. The first Wizard King, Lumiere, fights this demon and wins, but gets severely wounded in the process. Usually when the owner of a grimoire dies, the grimoire disintegrates, but 5-leaf clover grimoires don't follow this rule. They don't disintegrate even when their owner dies, and instead remain dormant until they choose a new owner. So even though Lumiere killed Licht after he became a demon, his 5-leaf grimoire still remained. To save Lumiere's life, Sekre uses forbidden magic to seal the first Wizard King into a statue on top of the demon's skeleton. Sekre's overuse of forbidden magic turns her into a bird. Okay, and that's the context out of the way. Now let's get into how this relates to Asta. Even though Zagrid failed to possess Licht's corrupted grimoire, it was still possible for another demon to do so. Here's where Asta's anti-magic demon comes in. Asta's anti-magic demon must have possessed Licht's grimoire at some point before Asta was chosen by the grimoire. We don't know what its motives are, or exactly when it happened, or how it even left the underworld, but we know that this must have happened. This demon's anti-magic abilities turns Licht's sword from a nice polished silver color to a dark black color and changes all their abilities, explaining the color change as I mentioned before. As to why the demon chose Asta as his vessel, it's pretty clear that he is the best and only choice, because he is the only person we have seen in the Black Clover world that possesses no mana at all, which makes him perfect for the anti-magic. As Julius said, Asta is the only one who can wield the swords. If Asta did have mana, he wouldn't be able to use the swords effectively, as we know that they drain mana, but Asta has no mana to give. Since we have little to no information about Asta's anti-magic devil, there's a lot of speculation in the community as to what it's really trying to do. What's intriguing to the community is the fact that Asta was born with no mana. No one else in the Black Clover world is like that. People think that Asta's demon had something to do with this, and chose Asta as his vessel for a specific reason before Asta was even born. We will surely find out what the demon's true motives are, but for now it's just speculation. So with that, we've covered everything we know about the history of Asta's swords. In the next part, I'll cover Asta's abilities with the swords and share some theories I have on them. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Tell me your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.